Hello again. It's Monday of Holy Week. Pastor Alejandro and I were talking together about what we might do special for Holy Week. It's so disappointing that we weren't able to actually be physically together for Palm Sunday yesterday, and we certainly don't expect that we're going to be able to be physically together for Easter Sunday either. And of course, Good Friday is coming up even before that. And so we talked about what we might do that would be special for Holy Week. And what we decided to do was a series of devotionals based on the 7 last words of Christ from the cross, the 7 last sayings of Christ on the cross. We're hoping that these might be helpful to you as meditations or as a place from which to launch in your thoughts and in your prayer time. And so we come to the very first of these, and we find it in Luke chapter 23 and verse 34. Jesus has been taken to Golgotha, the place of execution that is outside of the city walls of Jerusalem. And there the Roman execution squad has nailed him to the cross, and they're raising up the cross there on that hill. When Jesus speaks for the first time from the cross and he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." While he is being crucified, he's praying for his enemies. I tried to imagine what was probably going on in heaven at that very moment. And I can picture the angels, and I can picture them being angry and wanting to descend to earth and to destroy these enemies of Jesus. I can picture angels running to God the Father and asking permission to please let them go. Let them go and save Jesus and to take him down off that cross. I can picture God the Father filled with love for his only Son as he hung on that cross, filled with grief and sorrow and pain as Jesus was hanging there. But Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Think of all the things that Jesus didn't say. He didn't call down a legion of angels to come and rescue him. He didn't curse those who had brought him to this place, those who had falsely accused him, those who had judged him. He did not cry out to his Father in asking for pity and asking to be rescued. Rather, Jesus prayed for his enemies. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Where do I find myself in this picture? I'd like to say that I see myself standing there at the foot of the cross, next to John and next to Mary. I'd like to see myself as a faithful disciple who is standing there full of love and full of compassion for Jesus. But I know that's not the case. In truth, I am among the enemies of Jesus. I was one of those who caused Jesus to be there on the cross. I know it was my sin that put him there in the first place. So now let's look at Jesus. Here he is praying for the men who were crucifying him. They had just nailed his hands and feet to the cross. And when they crucified him, he prayed for their forgiveness. That's what Jesus has done for us. I think of what Paul wrote when he sent his letter to the Romans, chapter 5 and verse 8. "But God shows his love for us in this, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While we were still his enemies, Christ died for us. When we were still sinners, Christ prayed for us." Look at Jesus as he prays. He's the good shepherd, still searching for that lost sheep, still out looking for that wandering lamb. He's the loving older brother who is praying for his wandering and prodigal brothers and sisters, praying that they might come home. Jesus is our high priest, and there he is, interceding for us on the cross. And he's the Son of God, the holy, eternal Son of God, asking his Father to forgive us our sin. Look at the prayer of Jesus. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. When he prays, forgive them, for they know not what they do, we find ourselves in the them. We find ourselves in the they. He's asking his Father to grant full absolution for his enemies. In this prayer, we find forgiveness for our sin. It is in this prayer that we find hope, that we can escape from our sin and live holy lives and go to be with God ourselves. Jesus prayed for us. We're forgiven. We have no need to fear the consequences of our sin anymore. If we place our hope and trust in him, if we believe that he is who he said he was, if we believe that when he went to the cross, he took our sins to that cross with him, that he died in our place as a substitute for us, if we trust him, then we will find that we are among those for whom he prayed at that moment. We who were his enemies are now his brothers and sisters. We are forgiven. God has answered the prayer of his Son, and we have right standing with God the Father. May God bless you on this first day of Holy Week.